wired or wireless? I want to understand for a non-techie mind. And what is the difference between the LEO, the low Earth orbit, and the high altitude platform stations? I see your smile, you're excited. You know, when when he is asked the questions that somebody as brilliant as he is wants to answer, I can see your interest, and I want to share this so that it's on record, and this is what you will bring, hopefully, to the Philippines. That can be the game changer for our country, right, Secretary? Proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry with my excitement. It's amazing though, because the high altitude platform technology is actually still experimental. And I'm actually quite impressed that you've already gotten hold of that. Very few people know about that, the HAPS, or the high altitude platform. This actually is a very new technology, and one of the countries that are experimenting with that is Japan. What it is, it's a flying platform. It's a flying nakikita niyo po yung mga stealth bombers, diba? Flat pero ito malaki po. It's a very huge platform that is the entire top is solar powered, and then it is launched, and it flies indefinitely across the sky in a circular manner, and it delivers Wi-Fi access and Wi-Fi technology down to the ground instead of using the low Earth orbit. The low Earth orbit satellite. So this is not a satellite po. This is a flying platform. And so most of this technology is intended to be deployed, especially in areas where, let's say, you have a major disaster. For instance, like Yolanda, where the entire communities are wiped out and the infrastructure are all inanod lahat, tumba lahat. So if we're going to use, for instance, LEO, yung mga satellites po, no? Sa laki ng area, maaring we have to deploy 100 to 200 of those dishes na ikakalat natin doon sa area, mabigyan ng connection yung mga barangays, yung mga ano. So, ang dami yun kasi ang spread out po. With the HAPS, the high altitude platform, isang palipad nyo lang po doon, yung coverage niya is malaki, let's say buong isla or buong probinsya, habang lumilipad sa taas, maaari pong magamit ang mobile phone. So lahat ng may cellphone can now access that without having to put all those satellite dishes on the ground. And it flies indefinitely po, so long as may solar na-energize siya. Talagang lumulutang lang ho doon at upaikot-ikot habang ginagamit.
You mentioned about these two. One, we deployed 100 of them, and just one high platform, isa lang po. Are these both technologies available in the Philippines right now? And if not in the Philippines, in the near future, under your term, will you be able to bring this to our country?
These are actually complementing technologies po, no? But the low Earth orbit satellite is a technology that I feel is more mature. This is the Starlink system, the SpaceX Starlink system. It's more mature, and it has already gone through several stages of testing. In fact, it has been deployed in Ukraine. Where the Ukrainians are actually using that because pinasabog ko lahat ng mga transmission lines nila at saka mga communication lines. So walang communications po doon sa Ukraine. But dahil sa Starlink po, at nag-deploy sila ng mga satellite dishes, nakaka-communicate po sila doon. So the low Earth orbit satellite system is already been proven to work. And it is already being used. So, however, sa Pilipinas po, we will be the first Southeast Asian country. We will be the first Southeast Asian country that will use that technology.
I want to understand that this technology was discovered or invented by Elon Musk, right? Is that my understanding? His research team, at least. Because he has the first company that utilizes the low Earth orbit technology, and that is the Starlink.
Starlink po.
Did he invent it or he bought the rights for this? I want to understand po.
The study and the theory on low Earth orbit has been there for several decades po. Except that Elon Musk was willing to take the risk and invest in and believe in that technology and invest in that technology. And secondly po, I think it was timely because in the past po, it was very expensive to launch satellites. You would recall NASA and all these space agencies, napakamahal po dahil ang mahal ho to launch it. But what Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, what they did was they made launching cheap by designing reusable launch vehicles. And because of that reusable launch vehicles, bumaba ang laki yung binagsak ng presyo for launching satellites. And kaya they all decided to put in that investment. It became now a viable alternative. Pero napakaraming satellites po yan. The low Earth orbit satellite for Starlink would require 40,000 satellites. 40,000 satellites all over the world because it intends to cover the world. 40,000 satellites po. It's basically a constellation. They call it a constellation.
You need 40,000 to cover the world, but it's only in selected areas now. It's merely philanthropy now, or is it already a commercial endeavor?
It's a commercial endeavor po. They have so far launched 3,000, and I think by the end of the year, they'll have 4,000 satellites, 10% of what is required. And it covers certain areas of the globe. So mostly on the northern hemisphere. However, for the Philippines, we will be one of the early beneficiaries of this.
Right.
Because the satellites will be flying over our country.
So the Philippines is a first in Southeast Asia. Is this a commercial endeavor, meaning the company of Elon Musk will come to the Philippines and locate here, or will it make us a sample for Southeast Asia, or is it a philanthropic project that the Philippines is a beneficiary of this technology?
It's a commercial activity for them because they have to pay for all the launching and all the satellites. What they did as a philanthropic activity was to help Ukraine, but they were only able to do that for I think 6 months or 7 months. Today, they're already asking the U.S. government to foot the bill, continue the service because they have already spent several $100 million in charitable work to help Ukraine communicate.
Just very basic questions for a non-techie person who wishes to learn. What are the emerging technologies that you are bringing into the country to improve connectivity? I know that you have answered some of my colleagues' questions, but I want to understand what are these emerging technologies, already existing technologies, not yet in the Philippines or in Asia, that you are bringing to the Philippines to improve our connectivity? Because we know connectivity is life. With all the knowledge, and knowledge is power. Without this knowledge brought to our minds and accessing it, there's no sustainable growth to speak of. Secretary, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, some of the older technologies that we're currently using are already in place, like as I mentioned earlier, the IP radios, the VSAT systems, and of course, the existing fiber optic connectivity. But the new technologies that are on the horizon, and literally are the Starlink system, or what we call the LEO, the low Earth orbit systems. These are new technologies that are being put in place in order to provide better quality and more affordable service to connect to the internet. In fact, not just to the internet, they're importing more technologies on those satellites, so much so that they may even be deploying mobile phones so that you don't even need sat phones. Because of the low Earth orbit situation, a regular or a mobile phone without connecting to the SIM, to the cellular network, can actually just connect directly to the satellite. And this is a very game-changing technology that's out there in terms of connectivity.
Are referring to LEO, that's low orbit.
Low Earth orbit po.
Low Earth orbit, okay. Just so that we understand, those already being utilized in the Philippines are fiber optic, VSAT, What else?
IP radios,
IP?
yeah,
IP.
internet protocol.
Internet protocol, yes.
Radio frequency,
Radios, radio frequency, we have that. Tatlo lang po.
Meron mga luma ho, mga cable connector.
Yung luma na yun. Okay. So yung tatlo ang masasabi po natin sa universe na ginagamit po sa Pilipinas. Yan. So IP radio, VSAT, at saka fiber optic.
On the IP radios po, meron pong mga like microwave. So there are many. The main ano is that wired and wireless.
Okay.
Yun ang classification po.
Wired and wireless.
Opo.
Okay, very clear po. Then you mentioned the low orbit, Earth orbit. Okay, I want to understand this. What is the difference between low Earth orbit satellites, okay, low orbit versus high altitude platform stations? Ito pang high platform stations, are these the existing technologies being utilized in the Philippines? Since it is the first time that we are discussing the low Earth orbit, and the BICAM report of the budget secretary was just passed last night by both houses of Congress, was this anticipated, and is it already contained in the NEPGAB or the GAA, which will be signed this month?
That's correct, Madam Chair. We have anticipated this project as soon as I assume office. We already planned for this technology, and we made sure that we include it in the budget po.
It is in the budget that we passed, even as you only assumed your post middle of the year. Meaning, the low Earth orbit technology as an emerging technology of the company of Mr. Elon Musk called Starlink will be available in the Philippines in 2023 all over the country or in selected jurisdictions?
Only in selected areas po. Depending first on the need of the areas. If they have a viable population, for instance, at least several thousand. And second is that the costs of those devices, how do we now expand the coverage of those devices? And third, budget willing po, will be able to do it. We do not intend to do it at one go. We will be testing it and as we deploy it po. Because although in theory, they have already said that they have proven this in the other countries, and they have in their marketing materials, they claim certain speeds, certain latency, and certain coverage. We need to verify whether that is indeed true or it is all marketing. So we need to prove that first before we deploy po.
What will happen to the other technologies? Will it render it obsolete and useless like the VSAT and fiber optic and everything else that you mentioned? Will it, the low Earth orbit be the new thing and all the others will be useless, or will it be complementary?
We'll have to study that po. There may be other cases that we still may have to use the VSAT system, or there may be other areas where the LEO will not be able to cover. So that will have to be addressed. And we have to consider po also the long-term benefits, no? Because low Earth orbits satellites po have a shorter lifespan than geostationary orbits. I think for low Earth orbits, about 5 to 7 years for on the viability of the satellite, while the geostationary orbits have a much longer lifespan. So we need to study those and take those into consideration when we make the investment.
Capital is a capex for the entry of Starlink in the Philippines going to be made available? Because we may have the agreement with Mr. Musk, we may have budgets in DICT, but the transmitters, whatever the technical terms is, yung infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, bago po ito. Hindi po natin alam. Alam na po ng ating mga inhinyero. Alam na pa po ng DICT at lahat ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. Magko-coordinate po sa, syempre, DPWH, the OTR, the ICT. It's a whole of government approach, sir. So while the technology is there, yung mga dadaanan para ma-install, paano po yun? Aralan pa or masasabi natin dahil nasa budget na po kasi mag-expect po mga tao by mid of next year meron na tayong Starlink ni Elon Musk, magandang pakinggan. Ayoko pong magsabi kung hindi po tayo handa.
Opo, Madam Chair. Actually, that's the advantage of satellite connectivity po. Wala ko kayong ilalatag na mga kable dahil direkta po. So, yung infrastructure requirements napakasimple po. So, that can be easily deployable. The speed and the extent to which we can deploy is much faster.
But because it is satellite, there's no need on the ground for right-of-way issues, for roads and infrastructure, not even transmitters anymore. Yeah, it's all up there. Will it hover around Region 6?
From what we have been informed by Starlink po, it will.
Well, just so that you know, the province where I'm from, we have 590 barangays. Marami po mga bundok. Meron po rin po kami makatutubo. At connectivity is really a challenge. That's why I'm making it a priority. I'm sure all our district representatives will have their own districts to tell you about. But it would be interesting how to empower these people with such satellite technology. I will no longer ask many questions. I would just like to ask an appointment when you are confirmed, maybe after the Christmas season, because I learned so much when I speak with you. I also wanted, just last but very brief, is the DICT going to encourage PPPs? Are you also encouraging ODAs with what country to help us in e-governance and in improving our connectivity? Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are exploring, because of the limited budget, as was revealed by our honorable members of the House and the Senate, we have no choice but to explore PPPs in order to augment whatever financial capital infusion in order to deploy many of these technologies. So that's one of them. With respect to ODAs and international assistance, we've signed memorandum of understandings with Singapore, and we are also in the process of doing with Japan, with Korea, with the US. We have existing assistance also from the US and many other international funding agencies. World Bank has also helped in developing some capacity within the ICT. So all of these options, we're not closing our doors to any of these options. We're open to be able to maximize the remaining 5.5 years that we have in order to fulfill our mandate of digitalization in the country. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for so competently answering my questions. In short, gets po niyo ako. Gets the gets. Nagpapasalamat po ako sa inyong impormasyon, and I look forward to more enlightening conversations, especially with one of my favorite undersecretaries, Anna May, who was my Senate staff long ago. Yes, thank you for having her here, and you will want to learn from you and to continue help you in improving connectivity in our country, because I believe that really is a game changer in today's world. Thank you. With that, Mr. Chair, I would like to manifest my support for this brilliant man who I'm glad is joining us in government. Thank you so much, Secretary Ivan Uy.
Okay, go ahead, Major.
Mr. Chair, ano lang briefly lang in relation to the good inputs by Senator Loren. We support all the initiatives to promote connectivity, Secretary, no? But just on record, don't you think that Starlink needs a franchise to operate? I mean, we don't want any red tape or anything, no? But I firmly believe that if for them to operate in the Philippines, they need a franchise. I would like to know your opinion about it.
Currently, what has happened now is that the NTC has issued what we call a VAS license, value-added service license. Basically, they will not be uh, technically operating as a telecoms provider, but they will be operating as a internet ISP, internet service provider. And currently for ISPs, we do not require franchises po. We just provide them with a vast license. If I think if the technology evolves and they
My concern lang is your word technicality. We don't want them to be the technically knockout. We just want them to operate. It doesn't stop any entity from filing a technicality and stopping them. I think you should study that. While we welcome your initiatives and the NTC to open it through IP or VAS, a lot of companies will follow them, and we don't want any technicality. This is my point, no? We want everything seamless, and we support Starlink and all agencies, private, public, that will enhance connectivity. Yun lang, I think you should study that matter very carefully, because look at the TV5 ABS deal. It was technically knocked out by Congressman Marcoleta. Salamat po.
Okay, so Representative Greg Gasataya is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Mr. Secretary, Honorable Chair, just some clarificatory questions and follow up on the previous things that we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Chairman. Is the department considering investigating, or are you investigating already, those concerns of the implementers where people connect who were not paid previously, Honorable Chair?
Actually, medyo masalimuot po yung issue na yan. Those are problems that were left by my predecessor, and we're currently untangling them. It's actually a very complex because there are several, and each one has a unique issue. And we have they entered into 8,000 contracts po. And we only have, like, I think only 4 lawyers in the agency that is tasked to review all of that. So medyo mahirap po, and we are looking into that and trying to resolve them as much as possible. Some of the projects po kasi wala pong kontrata. So paano natin mababayaran? Although meron silang sinet up, meron silang kinabit, pero kung walang kontrata po, paano natin mababayaran yun? Mapa-flag tayo ng COA nun. Others naman involve, I think, the wrong funds source that was used to implement those. In the others naman, kasi hinati po yung mga awarding, yung last mile at saka yung middle mile. Yung last mile in-award sa isang contractor, yung middle mile in-award sa another contractor. So natupad naman nung last mile na kontrata, pero condition doon sa kontrata is dapat buhay. Hindi mabuhay dahil yung middle mile na magpo-provide ng tubig sa tubo, walang tubig po. So hindi mo mabayaran yung last mile contractor dahil hindi nila napagana. At kawawa naman, na-install nila yon, na-fulfill nila yon, pero dahil ang condition ng contract is that dapat mapagana nila at hindi lang mapagana because of the shortcomings of the other contractor na hindi na naka-deliver ng middle mile. So, ang daming mga iba-ibang issue po at medyo tapusin tayo siguro ng isang linggo just to discuss each and every one of them po.
Yeah. That is the reason why, Honorable Chair, that I asked that the department can probably conduct an investigation, because we know that this is not the making of the present administration, but just to set the record straight and justice be provided to those who unfortunately placed in a situation that we didn't want to be in. And also dapat may manamat, Honorable Chair, Mr. Secretary. I know na hindi pwedeng pabayaan to eh.
Mr. Chairman, isang tanong lang po, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Secretary Ivan. Ang concern ko lang ho bilang chairperson ng Committee on Tourism dito sa Senado, as we open up the industry, meron ho tayong in-implement yung, well, we started with yung One Health Pass and then we changed it dun sa e-arrival and then ngayon may bago na naman ulit, I think it was implemented last December 1. Naging bahagi ho ba ang DICT dito sa mga e-arrival card that we are implementing?
Itong huling integration is actually a DICT project po. Dahil na-identify po natin na napakaraming ahensya po ng gobyerno, kanya-kanya pong implementation ng mga arrival forms. Nahihirapan no dahil all of us have traveled po, no? We fill up a immigration form, we fill up a customs form, and then we have to apply for a One Health Pass at napakaraming ahensya na kailangan nating i-transact. Isang arrival lang naman ang gusto natin. So nung nakita namin yung problema, pumasok na po kami. At in a matter of nung pinakailaman po namin yan, in a matter of, I think, less than a month, in-integrate po namin yung lahat. Pinagsama-sama namin lahat, and we call it now the e-travel, no? E-travel site, where all the agencies, not just the agencies, so not just the Bureau of Quarantine or under the Department of Health, not just the Bureau of Immigration for immigration arrival, not just the Bureau of Customs for customs information po. We included Department of Tourism and the Department of Transportation so that we can harvest the big data that we can generate from all those arrivals. Then we can predict now, karamihan sa kanila pumupunta sa Boracay. At from the time that they arrive, how long are they staying in Metro Manila? And possibly po, magkano ang ginagastos nila, and we're able to monitor yung connecting flight nila if they register using those. So all these big data will allow our decision makers now to do data-driven decisions.
Actually, Secretary, it's good to hear na top na ngayon ng DICT. Siguro paki-address na lang din, Secretary, because dun sa One Health Pass and then dun sa e-arrival, marami ho tayong kababayan, lalong-lalo na yung mga OFW na naloloko kasi pag sinearch ho nila yung website, dinadala, ang una nilang nakikita yung fake kung saan charge sila ng $75. I'm hoping with this new e-travel, hindi na ho mangyayari na may mga kababayan pa tayo na mabibiktima at magbabayad ng $75. Yan lang po, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
In relation to that lang.
Okay, go ahead. 1 minute.
So just for clarification, Sec, so the e-arrival card is for data gathering, not for health or protocols.
It's integrated po. Because once we are able to collect all those data, then whatever information that each agency needs will be fed to them. So the immigration needs arrival information for immigration purposes. Those data will be given to them. They will not receive data on health. The Bureau of Quarantine will receive the data on health issues of the arrival. And the Bureau of Customs will receive information on the declared amounts that they are, but they will not be able to access information on health. So that's how the system is designed.
My concern lang, Secretary, is this started as a health protocol. Now you're saying that it's gonna be used for data gathering, which is okay. My concern lang kasi if you compare and benchmark to other countries, they're trying to streamline entry. Tayo po, if we ask so many questions, magkano gagastusin mo, anong connecting flight mo, that's already burdensome to travelers. Please, I know we want to get data, but Ako ay travel eh. It's so hard to get this. You know, nagda-down. After filling up 20 questions, biglang nagahang. So tapos ulitin ko na naman yung 20 questions ko. I mean, you know, sana 5 question lang. Passport number, kailan ka magstay, ganun lang, anong hotel, tapos na po. Hindi, totoo po. I'm sure you also travel. It's really burdensome. And when I fall in line with other Filipino travelers and foreigners, they just swear. They just swear about this. And it's bad for our country. And you cannot check in, get a boarding pass without this. So ang problema po talaga is napakahaba. And by the time you fulfill the requirements, nagda-down po yung ano, nagahang. Hindi ko maintindihan na, Senator Jaime, this happened to you? So it happens to everybody, Senator JV.
Magbaba, it's a scam. You end up paying $70 from some commercial site.
So please, Sec, we believe in you, trust in you. But since you're the IT person, you should streamline and coordinate with the DOT. The trust of the DOT is noble, maganda. But yung implementation napapasama, nakakainis talaga po. Salamat po.
Mr. Chair, so we're running out of time. Before we proceed, excuse me, no? Before we proceed, I would like to recognize the presence of Representative Albert Garcia. So, okay, before, sige, go.
Regarding this, I think it's very important, Mr. Chair, kasi marami na biktima niyan, no? Because when you're in the airport already, nagmamadali ka na, siyempre pag check-in mo, ayaw ng airline because it's a requirement. So ngayon, kung pumunta ako doon sa Milan, muntik akong hindi umabot, siyempre nagmamadali ka, gaya ni sinabi ni Madjo, napunta ako doon sa fake na, yung One Health Pass, Secretary, I hope you look into this also. Tapos it asked me to pay $70. Siyempre pag mapani ka na, like our OFWs, everybody, magbabayad ka eh. So nabiktima rin po ako. So if you put One Health Pass doon sa search, doon pumupunta eh. So I hope you look into this also. And I also agree with the majority leader na let us make it more convenient because when I traveled for the official trip sa France and Italy, it was very easy. Dito sa atin, ang hirap. And also, yung pong may nakabantay pa na DOT, yung Coast Guard, parang nakakaano eh. It is intimidating, but again, we will bring this up in another issue. But make it, I agree with the majority leader that we have to make it more convenient for tourists if we want them to come here. But I hope you look into that, Secretary. Yung po mga fake na napupunta na biktima. Dahil pag nagmamadali ka, kakagat ka eh. So ako, nawalan ako ng $70. Muntik ba ako maiwan? So, yun lang po. Thank you.